Okay, going over quiz number 9. So this is going to be our key. First 3 problems are FOIL problems. Remember, it's first, outer, inner, last. So the first means m times m squared. The outer means -2. Now this subtraction sign in front of the number means that number is negative. So -2 times m, -2m. The inner is 2 times m, it's positive 2m. And then the last is 2 times -2, -4. Now, if you did this, like when you FOIL, keep change is probably helpful. I don't do it when I factor, but for FOILing, it's probably good. So that might help a little bit. And then you add your like terms. So it's m squared. Now -2m plus 2m goes to 0, plus -4, or m squared minus 4. Okay, number 2, so I'll do it with keep change, so it's a little easier to see. 4p times 2p is 8p squared. Outer, 4p times -1, -4p. Inner, 3 times 2p, 6p. Last, 3 times -1 is -3. Okay, I'm going to add my inner and outer because those are my like terms. So 8p squared plus 2p, you got to watch the signs when you add, plus -3. Okay, and then third one, keep change. So first, h squared, outer, -7h. Inner, -5 times h. And last, and remember that when you do at each step of the FOIL, you're multiplying at each step. -5 times -7, positive 35. So that leaves me with h squared, -7 plus -5, -12h plus 35. And then 4 through 7 is I just want to make sure you understand how to find the square root of these exponents. So all you need to do for the square root is take half of the exponent. The square root is x squared. Now some of you are showing it to me like this. That just kind of shows why x squared is the square root, because x squared times itself gives me x to the 4th. But the answer is just the x squared. b to the 3rd, take half of 6 is 3. Take half of 6n is 3n, so a to the 3n. Take half of 2n, which is just n, so b to the n. All right, now FOIL, you've got to really follow this checklist very carefully for each problem. Step 1, factor out the GCF. So that means you got to look for it. Well, looking at these two terms, they both have a 2. There's a 2 and a 2, and 2 goes into 8 evenly. So first I have to pull out the 2. 2 times what gives me a squared, or gives me 2a squared? A squared. Minus, because that's minus. 2 times what gives me 8? 4. That is step 1. You're not done. Now you've got to look at step 2. Look for a special pattern. Well, at this point, we only knew one difference of 2 squares. So this is a square, this is a square, and the minus means it's difference. That breaks down. So you get 2 parentheses, one's a plus, one's a minus, a plus 2, a minus 2. Okay, number 9, look for the GCF carefully. There's a 3 in both of these. They both have a b. Now, I can't say b to the 3rd because this one doesn't have a b to the 3rd. It's the biggest thing that's in both is basically what's in common. So pull out 3b. 3b times what gives me 3b cubed? Well, I need 2 more b's because 2 plus this 1 will make the 3. plus 3b times what gives me 9b? 3. That's step 1. Now step 2, look for a special pattern. B squared is a square. 3 is not a square. It doesn't have a square root, and that's not a minus. I can't do anything else, so that's my answer. Number 10, look for a GCF. Well, there's nothing in common here. Step 2, special pattern, difference of two squares. So that has a square root. That has a square root. There's a minus between them. Therefore, I can do this. Plus, minus, 5n plus 7, 5n minus 7. Number 11. Okay, there's no GCF, but these are both squares, and there's a minus between them. So his square root is y squared. The square root of 16 is 4. Putting it in the two parentheses, one with the plus, one with the minus. Y squared plus 4, y squared minus 4. But notice it asks on step 3 if it's completely factored. You really have to look before you move on to see if either of your factors can be broken down further. The first parenthesis has two squares, but there's a plus between them, and that's not the difference between two squares. The second parenthesis also has the two squares, but it is the difference because of the minus sign. So the first parenthesis is part of my answer. That's one of my factors. The second parenthesis breaks. It's kind of like a cell that divides. It's going to break again. And you have to look for the square roots. Y and 2 are the square roots. Y plus 2, y minus 2. All right. So that one broke again. Number 12, there's no GCF, but that's the square, there's a minus. So I get, now here's y to the n is the square root, and 3 is the square root. Plus, minus. Y to the n plus 3, y to the n minus 3. And the last one. No GCF, step 2. This is the difference between two squares. These are the square roots. Two parentheses, plus, minus, x plus 6, x minus 6. I can't do anything else with those. There's no more difference of two squares. That's the end. Okay, and then the extra credit, step 1 GCF. Well, they both have an x. So first step, got to pull out the GCF. So this is going to leave me y to the 2n minus 100. Step 2, special pattern. That's a square, and it's the difference between them because there's a minus sign. This is going to break into two pieces. So I have an x times two parentheses, plus, minus. Now the square roots, y to the n. This is why I had you do this up here so that you would know how to find the square roots. 10. Y to the n plus 10, y to the n minus 10. Now I can't break that down farther. That's a plus, so I'm not even worried about it. These are not squares, so that doesn't break. That is the answer.